Another side effect of the early start is that we potentially get the late fog finish, and that's surprisingly prevalent at the start of this one. It's perhaps the reason why weekends of old we would have gone early to avoid the fog. Fingers crossed we don't get too much of that. Um, it could be enough of a risk, but no doubt with the lights that you can see, these drivers can do the business, can power through this all. Um, Front wheel drive coming to the fore, but there are some rear wheel drive aspects to keep an eye out for at the start of reversed grid and race 16 of the championship World Super Touring action coming for you shortly. Adrian Michael Rees show alongside Michael Swinnerton. Yeah, we also normally have a good indicator of where uh, the driver is going to be going. Um, this time by, nothing has really been confirmed yet. As far as like, there's drivers coming in, drivers going out definitely, but still only a handful, less than a handful. Um, it's still very much up in the air as we come from from our sort of roving about trying to find little nuggets of information here and there. We are not getting any indicator, no crumb whatsoever there, Swinny.
No, people are playing their cards very close to their chest. So the things that we know so far is that BMW are going to have a shake-up of drivers to outfit their new B team that's going to be taking part in the American Super Touring Championship. Zanardi is confirmed with a works manufacturer, but we don't know whom. But he has
Except it's
basically
not
said it's
BMW.
not BMW. Yes, so we now have to start looking at like, well, as much as it's a sad thing to have to do, who has had a bad time of things, who's not been performing as well as they could have done, who has had an overall negative season as to who might be getting pushed out for Zanardi to be coming in. Um, there's a couple of options there. And then, of course, who's replacing Zanardi in that Ford Focus? They've confirmed they're running a second car again for next year. So there's going to be at least 3 new drivers in the privateer ranks, if not 4, depending on what happens with Kubica with
Yeah.
all the BMW shake-up.
They perhaps have gotten cotton on to the fact that we know more than they expect, perhaps, and this time being a bit less forthcoming with information, much like they have in seasons past. So I think this might be news by the time we get to round 10. We might get knockings. By the time around 11, we might get confirmation. So or if they're working harder, then certainly we have to too. Thompson then P1 after finishing 10th. Moreno P2 after finishing 9th. But that Duma DHL Alpha being rear-wheel drive, once the lights go out, it's fairly self-explanatory. We've been here before. We'll see it, no doubt, happen right now. There's the movement from the Alpha. There's the lead right there. There's the two other Alphas from 9th and 10th. Duma leads. Whitman and Fisichella already up to 6th and 7th. Some dive bombs perhaps into turn 1. Moreno down to 3rd then. There's the fog. Still, say, almost, fingers crossed, it is just a mist by the time we complete lap 1. And the swarm through the turns there. Verts down to 19th. We expect the Sheng Crown Athlete to be there. Verts, okay, so around the outside up to P18th, but there's Bianchi in 16th as well. Not a good look. We mentioned the choke. We didn't say it, but it's we say it with bated breath compared to last season, but it's evident now. No doubt that if Ingram gets a solid run here, championship lead will change by the checkered flag at the end of this race. Another 14 lapper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Still a clean getaway for everybody else.
Yeah, relatively clean for everybody. Couple of dive bombs here and there. A bit of side-by-side action. But once again, considering how tight and twisty this track is and how much it lends itself to bumper cars, we've seen very little of it, which is quite nice to see. But once again, we have Dumas in the lead. So Privateer leading. Dumas has already got 1 win this year. Oh, never mind. Thompson's taken the lead back again. Don't mind me. And here comes Marino in third. So he's suddenly putting a charge on.
4-wheel drive definitely better this year in defence against the rear-wheel drive dark arts.
There he goes, up into second.
Then.
So Marino showing that he can match what Zanardi does. Zanardi, of course, his best finish so far this year is a second place, right at the beginning, back at Interlagos.
Honda
Marino
propping up
it.
The tail end of the Constructors' Championship in 6th. 6 out of 6 manufacturers. They are now first and third, doing their utmost. They know they're good, but their best is not good enough with another 3 weekends to go then. Speaking of Lammers, you did speak to Ingram between the races. The bump draft, I was expecting someone from race control to have some kind of word. Did that actually happen there, Swinny?
No. Ingram and Anthony and Nicky Lammers there went and had a conversation about it afterwards. Nicky understood what was going on in that they double teamed themselves past the DHL Alpha, so no love lost there, no harm done.
Solid on the inside of Dumas then. Promising start. Fisichella still 6th, and Wittmann, okay, after a good getaway. These Alphas are, okay, 9th. There's points to be had then still, but with Renault, the way this is looking, Renault could still, surprisingly, still lead the Manufacturers' Championship as well then, despite all their efforts to fail, not to succeed. Having done so well at the start of the season, they're doing it again. And there goes Fisichella down the inside of Dumas.
There goes Fisichella trying to get around Dumas, but Dumas is making it difficult. Meanwhile, we've missed another pass for the lead.
Marino,
Marino leading.
How dare we?
A rookie in a privateer is now leading overall in front of both the Works Hondas.
How very dare we miss that gem?
Yeah, I mean, we know the Ford has got a decent amount of straight line speed. I can only assume that's what he managed to utilise, getting a good run out the hairpin, but here he is in the lead. Will it stay, or will he burn his tyres out, or make a mistake? Remains to be seen, but for now, enjoy the clear road in front of you, mate. Try not to look in your mirrors too much.
We have had our underdogs, and despite Honda not being the best of competitors amongst the manufacturers, Thompson back ahead. This is going to be one for the archives if Moreno does pull this off.
Yeah, he's still alongside him. They're still going for the lead. They're side by side. They're going to have a drag race down this start-finish straight. Never mind. Marino tucks back in behind, decides he wants to utilise the slipstream.
A reminder then, this car is good. Zanardi was second at Interlagos in race 2, reverse grid obviously, so this is a recipe for success if ever there was one, and something to actually kick against if Honda are the worst performing outfit of the manufacturers, even though we kind of say that whilst treading on eggshells. They're not bad. They're just last.
No, absolutely. I mean, they're one of the few teams where both cars have won a race this year. Like, not every team can say that. Not even Alfa Romeo can say that. BMW can't say that, but Honda can. So, yeah, okay, they are 6th in the constructors' championship, but unfortunately, somebody does need to finish last. That is the harsh reality of the situation. But it's not like they're last by a huge margin, and they still have had some success. We know the Civic is still good. I think they've just been chasing their tails a little bit with setup. And I think where other teams have made slight R&D breakthroughs, Honda just haven't, which isn't necessarily a slight against them by any means.
Now we are seeing some clear skies, we are seeing some background, so the fog, the mist, despite perhaps it being a little bit of mist there, has lifted. Wittmann still 9th. Dumas still 6th, Fisichella still 5th then. Here comes Ekstrom on There's Dumas to defend it. P6.
Yeah, it sounded like Ekstrom just lifted a little bit there to make sure he didn't go into the back of the Alpha, which has ruined that run. Meanwhile, 3 wide for the lead.
Whoa! 3 wide and still 3 wide.
There's your
This is
action
one for the
shot.
archives. This is one for the archives, and there goes Salo then, making hay while the sun sets.
Yeah, Thompson got shoved all the way to the outside of turn 1, completely ruined his momentum, allowed Salo to get through.
And there's a Fisichella looking to reap some benefits as well.
And there is a Fisichella. Can Fisichella do what Gianni Liozzi did around here in the European Championship, and that's win both races? Come all the way up from 10th place and win both races. Win race 2.
You'll see that on the showcase in Gran Turismo 7 if you take a look at the interactive race replays there. Link in bio. Lamas then, Moreno, Salo, Ford. Will Ford want to do the cheeky and get Salo ahead of the non-factory effort? Moreno, strong getaway from the start, but will Ford want to play the usual executive game that they have done so many times throughout history? Not one of their biggest efforts, but still one to pull the plug on if they don't do well. Thankfully, they have been doing well enough, enough to maintain at least a slot in next year's championship. We can confirm. Oh, hello, here's Moreno then. Okay, rookie for the lead again.
Yeah, I think
down
Marino's
the inside of
car
Lamas
is set up for straight line speed, so he can get a really good run out of the hairpin and out-drag practically everybody down the start-finish straight. And there he goes into the lead, and he's clearing away this time.
One of the better rookies in Brazilian stock cars, is definitely one of the better rookies in the World Super Touring Championship this season by...
And not to scare anybody, but where we are going next, Marino is the only driver to have actually driven around that track and have any experience of it. Everybody else will be learning Road Atlanta for the first time, but Marino has been there, so he's going to have
expected him to lead
advantage
there, but he is getting a bit of a false start in that regard. Dennis Thompson tries to take on Salo. Honda definitely need the points. Moreno with the fastest lap. Proof of that in the straight line speed from the exit of this hairpin that they're coming up to right now.
Lammers is still there, he's still within striking distance. Will he be able to repeat to Marino what Marino did to him last lap? It depends on how well they get out the hairpin. I think Marino got a slightly better run there.
Extra trying to psych out Dumas for P6, but that was still too far back. We could see it on the long shot through the tunnel. And Moreno with enough of a gap then.
Lammers has a
Lama
run,
with some
catching.
power, some slipstream.
This is the power of the slipstream, yeah, but I don't know if Lammers will be able to have the braking power.
Look at the camber on those rear wheels on the Ford. So the power out the front, they need the handling for this particular infield to defend it. Fisichella down the inside of Thompson on the riser.
They're going to go too wide through here, which is always a bit sketchy if you're on the outside, because it's very easy to run wide onto that grass and then have a potentially huge moment in the opposite barrier, but they keep it clean, they keep it too wide. Thompson's not quite given up yet. Same with Dumas and Ekstrom. Ekstrom has been all over the back of that Alpha, and I think he is the faster car out of the two, but he just can't find a way past for the last couple of laps, and we're already halfway through.
Now Ingram in 10th. 10th place means 6 points. He really needs to have another 3 at least. I would say another 4 points to lead the title by the end of this race. Now, where Ekstrom got a benefit of Ingram's teamwork, I have a feeling that Ekstrom, if the order has been instructed, maybe he is acting on that right now, holding up Dumas and Whitman for Ingram to gain on Palou as well.
He's desperately trying to get past Dumas, and he finally clears the Alpha, the DHL Alpha. So Ekstrom can now get on off off up the road after Fisichella, see if he can't get himself in front of the other car that eluded him last race.
Whilst one Cobra defends for all it's worth in the lead, the other Cobra of Zanardi doing very well, propping up the top 11 behind Ingram.
So once again, two Works BMWs just haven't quite got the handle on the setup of the car. And, well, we've already spoken at length already about Renault today. But their loss is Ford and Honda's gain. Both of the cars up here.
There is no room in this game for mediocre, and the time has taken to watch both of these races has flown by. That's how much entertainment there has been around Deep Forest this weekend, and the entertainment is still ongoing because of a rookie in a privateer outfit is fending off some unexpected leading works efforts ahead of an Alpha in 5th. Fisichella should be title inbound, but there are some stronger points places ahead, especially Lamas in P2 now, gaining on Moreno again. Hairpin and braking area coming up. Moreno on the anchors right there, but still not enough of a gap, or maybe there was. No, there wasn't enough of a gap for Lamas. Through that hairpin, the sun has definitely set. The dusk is inbound. The two alphas of Wittmann and Duma having a tussle. Wittmann perhaps under, or Duma under instruction perhaps. Okay, maybe not. Side by side through the sweepers and the exit of the final curve then. Wittmann still ahead, but Duma might want to have a say on that as Palou closes in. Ingram 10, Zanardi 11, and BMW with a quiet one. Renault definitely with a bad one, but BMW with a quiet one and only a handful of points to play with.
Yeah, I managed a quick...
wide on.
Yeah, there was a bit of a wobble there with the Ford, but I managed a quick chat with Sophia Schneider over the lunch break. And yeah, she was pretty forthright in how frustrated she's been with getting so close to being on the top step of the podium again and having it ripped away from her at the last minute, because she's had a few podiums, but of course no race wins, so we'll have to wait and see if that
can only speculate.
has a factor in any of the silly season rumblings and rumours we've heard so far.
Webber definitely with a win this year. Schneider, much like Wittmann, not getting a win in. Once again, we can put that down to front-wheel drive gain, not so much rear-wheel drive loss, because they still get a dynamite start every single time we see them. And with the American project inbound, could be a decent distraction, I suppose, but we can't assume that that's the case. We can still only speculate. Moreno still leads then. Moreno still with the fastest lap as well, unless with the cooler temperatures coming in. No, maybe not.
No, I think at this point in the race that lap time is there to stay, so Moreno has done an insanely good job and has definitely put his name on the map, put his name on the radar. Okay, Zanardi's going to a works effort next year, but and there might not be any room at the inn for Moreno, but that doesn't mean to say that he can't play the long game, go for another privateer win next season, and then in his third season get promoted up to the big league somewhere.
Just to confirm this, with a reduction of manufacturer input to 6 from 7, we can definitely confirm that there is no 7th manufacturer even remotely considering, let alone declared, for next year. So that can be considered red for season 6 and maybe even season 7. Wittmann gaining on Ekstrom then. P6 inbound perhaps.
Yeah, Ekstrom now having to go on the defensive after being Mr. Aggressive, and looking at the back of Alfa Romeo rear bumpers, he's now got one in his rearview mirror, one who beat him last race. So he's going to be extra wanting that extra position, for lack of better words.
Wittmann only a 10th off of the fastest lap of Moreno as well, as the leaders cross the line once more. 4 to go
laps are winding down, and Marino has had to make some aggressive moves, so I do slightly worry about his front tyres wearing out, but then everybody around him has had to make some aggressive moves, so if Marino's tyres are worn, so are everybody else's.
Speaking of moves, there was a glimpse of a Renault actually making some decent effort, perhaps, but it's still for the handful of points. Trying to get past rookie Zanardi then is Bianchi. Not a very well held title for Wirtz further behind then. No points for Wirtz. Where does that put Ingram then? Wirtz definitely 16th. The drivers we're seeing now not straggling, I suppose. Yes, they are, I guess. But Ingram still only getting what looks like 6 points so far, being in 10th there.
Now, obviously, if he can nick the fastest lap off of Marino, that's an extra couple of points. Every little helps.
So Wirtz with a bit of a lifeline if ever there was one. Palou down the inside of Dumas then. So
I think
Ingram
that might be a foregone conclusion. I think the Ford is going to outdrag the Alfa Romeo and call it job done.
Side by side through these sweeping final bends. Completely reprofiled since the return to this circuit after a very entertaining 90s run.
And early to mid 2000s. Yeah, they figured in the name of safety, put in a hairpin there, where the track used to have one banked long left-handing sweeper. The hairpin they decided was A, slightly safer, and B, allowed for some more overtaking opportunities. Ingram just holding station in 10th. He seems quite content there. I don't know whether anybody has got on the radio to him to explain the exact ins and outs of the championship, or if he's just happy outscoring both Renaults so far.
The outscoring will obviously help. It just really would help if it was a little bit more. Maybe he's fingers crossing that these other guys in front actually kind of put themselves out rather than Ingram having to make even more of an effort. Still got to be careful for the season. The top 4 still end-to-end, top 5 end-to-end.
But with another change in lead that we've once again
Lama's
missed because we're so good at this.
Well then, was this the effort? Was this the final throw of the dice for Moreno then? Actually, this is the final throw of the dice perhaps. 2 to go, power down, Ford on Honda. Lama's not defending. Happy to get...
Marino is there. The best Lammers can hope for is a good run around the outside, hang tough, and then get the better line through the twisty bits next. But Marino back in the lead.
Blimey, we thought we'd lost that. Moreno has been pulling this back. We've seen other privateers resigned to kind of being overpowered by these manufacturer behemoths, I suppose. Not in terms of scale, quite maybe. But a fantastic effort for Moreno to lose it and then get it back, lose it and then get it back again. There's 2.5 to go. We are seeing something similar to a Formula 1 race of old being played out in a much more entertaining fashion and around a much more entertaining circuit, no doubt.
Yeah, top 5 all right there. Okay, they're not end-to-end nose to tail, but should anybody get a corner wrong, there is plenty of cars ready to pounce and strike and benefit from that. I think it's not over yet, even though we have essentially a lap to go. Lammers has another look for the inside lead. He's going to be careful not to lose second to Salo now.
Moreno's fighting for all his worth. Not that it's going to dampen his spirits. Palou now with the fastest lap. 2 points less for a rookie. No sweat off Moreno's back, but the back is full of Honda headlights.
And another Ford headlights, because Salo is right there. Top
defended
3 now,
into turn 1. Moreno has pulled off one of the drives of the season, one of the drives of the franchise, the World Championship, let alone any of our super touring brands dotted around Europe, Japan, America. Palou still with the fastest lap. Then Ingram. There's a purple sector if ever there was one as well for Moreno. Handling well enough throughout this tight and twisty section. Fisichella propping that particular peloton up. And there's one more braking area to go. Honda should have had a power on this. This Ford has been set up magnificently by the Cobra team to be able to win, knowing that they have got track record of threatening to do this season. Zanardi got P2 at Interlagos, and this is one much louder, and we'll see excitement in the Cobra garage. There's definite gap there. So Moreno with a masterstroke, the first Brazilian to win in the World Super Touring Championship. There's the checkered flag then. There's your top 5. Now where is Ingram going to be if it's going to mean he's P9? So another point then. That means he's got 11 points. Actually, no, sorry, I got that wrong. 7 points. He has tied... Now, yeah, Wirtz is 16th. That's no points. Title is tied for the lead between Wirtz and Ingram. Boy, is it brewing nicely with the 3 weekends to go. And what a fantastic weekend. Well, for the majority of the front runners, but no more deserved than for Carlos Moreno. What a night it's going to be in the Cobra garage there, Swinny.
Yeah, that's going to be one hell of a party. That is, not to take anything away from Dumas' privateer win earlier this season, but that is incredibly good going for Carlos Moreno. Rookie season, rookie team, privateer. We know the Ford Focus is not necessarily the quickest car on the grid, and he's not only won a race outright, he battled with more experienced drivers in what should be faster cars, and round a circuit that is a rear-wheel drive bias. Like, he had the deck stacked against him, and he's still come out on top. He has to be in conversations now with various works teams to try and get him on board. Maybe not for next year, but maybe for the year after.
And what I can see looking out of this particular booth, some of the DHL representatives have actually gone over to the Cobra team to congratulate them. I wonder if that's an indicator that they have actually kind of declared that they might not be able to beat Cobra's independence lead in terms of the team's championship, so to speak.
Yeah, I rather doubt that, unless something absolutely incredible happens, like DHL get a 1-2 finish at Road Atlanta, and then another 1-2 finish at Brands Hatch, and then another 1-2 finish at Fuji.
Yeah.
I think the privateer teams championship is a fairly foregone conclusion, but that's still not taking anything away from the new Cobra Motorsport team. They've done incredible this season.
And that means, whilst I did mention we go in with the manufacturer or the Constructors' Championship, last time we spoke about this at the Nürburgring, I may as well keep that consistent. It is now only a 6-point lead for Renault in the Constructors' Championship, having only claimed 3 points this weekend. A stunning gain for Alfa, who knew they had to get their finger out, knew that Renault were waning. That was self-evident with the qualifying, that they pulled every single possible shot they could in qualifying to demoralise Renault to such an extent that they only got 3 points out of it this weekend. Therefore, Alfa up to second. BMW then were second. They've capitulated this time by. Volvo back up to third. Ford with a good run up to fourth. And it is just surprisingly close for the effective mid-pack as opposed to back-pack of the Constructors' Championship, with Honda still surprisingly sixth despite a podium finish for that race. And they'll be, would they be scratching their heads perhaps after this weekend thinking, how could we not beat a privateer Ford Focus, do you wonder?
Yeah, but I think their question is a bit of a bigger one at the minute because they've had struggles all season long. They're definitely the team on the back foot compared to other manufactured teams, and I think they're gonna have to almost pull go back to your classic F1 references, pull a Braun GP without pulling out, and just throw this year in the bin and have a look at what they can do to the cars for next year and what they can do to the team for next year to mean that they can come back swinging.
Yeah. If it is about a complete team overhaul, then the figureheads and the two drivers would need to be the same if it is a complete overhaul, just to give an indicator of how good it can potentially be. It is brewing very nicely going to America then, with Virgin Ingram on 214 points each. Fisichella has managed to get a 41 point inclusion onto his points there. Wittmann is also gaining ground as well. So it's Wirtz, Ingram, Fisichella, Wittmann, Salo strong as well. Weber falling back after not getting many points. Lammers with a good gain of 30 is there in sixth then. Pelot also gaining. Bianchi, well, the less said about Renault, the better, but Bianchi is now heading towards the mid-pack with a rate of knots, it seems. Same for Schneider. Thompson holding strong in the slap bang in the middle, no doubt. Ekstrom with a gain as well. Then it's Zanardi and Moreno. It's going to be a very good independent drivers' championship between the two Cobra Motorsport cars then, with 3 weekends to go. And we're off to America, somewhere fresh and invigorating. Okay, it is Road America. It'll be a fascinating dogleg starts. We'll see the mid-pack having to struggle with a downhill and then a turn start as well. You've been there before, Swinney, but not a lot of these drivers have, like you mentioned.
Yeah, as I said, the only driver, to my knowledge, I might be wrong, but the only driver that's actually turned laps around Road Atlanta before in this grid is Carlos Marino, who just won this race. So he's already got the momentum, and now he's going to have a slight advantage. I don't know if he'll do as well, but look for him to score points at least, I would say, unless they really screw up the handling of his car.
Despite it being a sports car renowned venue, the sort of actual turns and straights and the hills kind of indicate it should lead to a more exciting touring car circuit more than anything, much like this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though it's, as you said, it's got all that sports car pedigree, it's not a very long lap. It's actually quite a short circuit, surprisingly enough. So, granted, we won't have to be dealing with a good 50 odd cars on track and multi-class and all of that kind of fun stuff, but it's going to be tight and frantic. You're going to have to be careful through the first S's of that first sector to not accidentally knock anybody off or get punted off yourself. I think a lot of moves are going to be made going towards the two right-hander corners up at the back section of the circuit. And then, of course, you've got the chicane at the end of the lap, which is a heavy braking zone, and they're basically to almost engineer overtaking opportunities. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see and see what kind of chaos ensues from that.
How's this for logistics then? You'd think if we're going to be going to America that we kind of stay outside of Europe, but no, we're going to go back to Brands Hatch for round 10, as we normally do, and then to cap it all off, we head for the aeroplanes again, and to Japan for the final round to partner up with the Japanese Championship again, and a very exciting and entertaining weekend, let alone what is potentially brewing for the title to be decided, I reckon, on the very last round, like it was perhaps for the Japanese Championship, but only in a World Super Touring car form. It is bubbling up very nicely indeed, there, Swinny.
Yeah, you are not wrong. I'm quickly looking for over the years I've been looking forward to the Fuji event more and more, and considering this time is going to be our second time doing a double header with the Japanese series, and of course the Japanese series has its new little Civic One Make support category, which has proved to be very very entertaining, and we'll be bringing our support category of the Alpine Intercontinental Cup with us, so there'll be lots of racing on offer. Um, for the Japanese fans to get stuck in with, and we know that they're already an excitable bunch, so it can only lead to more fun times.
We are tremendously excited for what will be happening for the final 3 weekends. I cannot wait to share that with both Michael Swinnerton in the pit box, in the commentary box, and with yourselves, the viewers. So before we go, on behalf of Michael Swinnerton, Adrian Michael Rees here, good racing and a fantastic championship tail end to look forward to.